Hey guys, I'm Sai, and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation. On the channel, we have podcast series, interviews, and content on literally every subject you can think of. We've got a live football show every Monday with former Premier League and Championship striker Mr Andy Campbell, Cardiff City legend, obviously. Monday, 7:30 live on Facebook and YouTube. And we have a weekly MMA show, which is going to be rebranded as the Fight Show very soon because we've started covering more boxing recently. That's with former Cage Warriors champion and UK MMA legend, Mr. Danny Batten, providing all the analysis and breakdowns. Plus, we do shows or series on mental health, films, TV, conspiracy theories, music, including a recent live performance from up-and-coming band The Crooks, as well as an interview with Shed 7's lead singer, Rick Witter. We've a very, very popular series called Unscripted and Uncensored, which is unique to all our other shows and most other people's shows as well, to be honest, because all the talking points for me and my guest are set by the people, the listeners, the viewers. I do no questions, no research, and the people send in whatever they want us to talk about. Always uncensored and always interesting and funny because it can go off on wild tangents. Previous guests for that series include UFC stars Brett Johns, Jack Shaw, Modestus Bukakash, Cage Warriors fighters Oban Elliott, Paddy Pimblett, Tom Mearns, actor Johnny Owen, Welsh boxers Gavin Gwynn and Cody Davis, Rodri Giggs, and a couple of others. It's always fun. It always goes off the rails. And so keep an eye on our social media channels and look out for the posts which ask for questions or talking points on Unscripted and Uncensored, because that is where the discussion and the questions are entirely up to you, the people. But today is episode number 3 in our new series, My Story. In this story, I take my guests through their life, their career, and more as they share memories and anecdotes from their whole life, their careers, anything you could think of, really, anything which comes up in the conversation. It's been very well received. The first episode was with controversial, charismatic former England cricketer Chris Lewis, as we talked about his upbringing, his career, his stint in prison and more. Episode 2, I was joined by former Wales, Arsenal and Cardiff City defender Rhys Weston, as we discussed his career and plus a whole lot more, including his disappointing and what's the word? Niggly exit from Cardiff City. He gave his full and frank opinions and views on that and Dave Jones, which was very interesting to hear. These shows, all our other shows, can be found in video format at youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Please subscribe and click the bell, as then you'll be notified before we go live or before we upload new content every single day or every single time, 3 or 4 times a week. This is also the best way to support the channel as we endeavor towards the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is proving a bit harder than the 9,000 we got on Facebook and other sites. You can also find every single show that we do in audio format at the usual podcast and radio apps and platforms: iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and many, many more. Too many to listen. That's the plugs for the time being. So let's focus on my absolute legend of a guest as we begin My Story, episode 3, and take former WBO Bantamweight World Champion and IBF Interim Flyweight Champion, Welsh boxing icon, Mr. Robbie Regan, through his life and career. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, Simon. Yes, pleasure to be here. I'm pretty good, thank you.
Good man. It's a long intro there, but I figure I get all the plugs out the way, and then we can focus all on you and your incredible career. You've got an incredible story. You know, just everything together is so interesting, and like the response since I announced that you were coming on was just incredible to me, like more than any other guest I've had. Just the the amount straight away, the amount of new followers, the amount of messages. Some of the messages weren't even like questions; they were just Robbie Regan is a top guy, top boxer, absolute legend, and just stuff like that. But other people say questions. You are clearly a very, very popular gentleman, and you're a very loved gentleman. Just you could tell just by the response, and even before that, before I'd sort of officially announced you and I briefly spoke to you, I had people after we had Cody Davis and Gavin Gwynn on and some of the UFC guys from Wales. They were like, "Oh, get Robbie Regan on. He'd be a great interview, great show." So people were asking for you before me and you had even spoken. That must be a unique feeling, all these years after you retired, to feel that love from people.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it made what we achieved made it worthwhile. People don't forget, and the massive sport they had when I was boxing, and a lot of them are still there now and supporting me today, and it's quite amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's the Wales combat sports fans I've noticed, particularly as I've got older. Like obviously, when you were boxing, I was relatively young. I was quite young, but like where I follow combat sports, MMA and boxing now, when you see the Welsh boys fighting, thousands travel everywhere, wherever the fights are. I know Jack Shaw fought in the UFC in Copenhagen, and there was thousands of Welsh fans. Same with Gavin Gwynn and Cody Davis when they're fighting in London or America. Just thousands of Welsh fans. I'm assuming that was the same in your days. Just the Welsh fans followed you everywhere.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. But I had such a big support. I had my fights at home. I didn't have to travel to fight guys and fight for titles in other people's backyards and countries. I'd get them traveling to every country over here, and that's because of the sport I had.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I like to do with these is basically I will start off, we'll ask, like you could tell us a bit about like you growing up, in the start of your life, and then we'll take you through everything. And then right at the end of the show, then we'll go through the questions which people have sent in to finish off the show. So yeah, for maybe people who are not familiar with you, and just to start us off, to get a feel for you, really, tell us a bit about, like you growing up and where you grew up and stuff like that.
Well, from Cam Forest, yeah, a lot of people think I'm a Blackwood boy or phones and PlayStations and things like that. We had to make our own fun. It was hard back in them days, but we was happy.
Yeah, and that's very straight because I assumed also that you were a Blackwood boy. So yeah, that's obviously a common misconception. How old were you when you first kind of started boxing?
Like 15, I was. I gone all days with my Uncle Pat, who was also my coach and trainer, one of my coaches and trainers, and he was big friends with Di Gardner, and Di come on the all day with us, and me and my brother talk about going to the gym when we go back, and we went to the boxing gym, and my brother maybe went twice, but my brother, sports, from first time I ever walked in the gym. I do.
So yeah, I mean, before that, did you have any interest in boxing, like watching it and things like that?
I wasn't interested in any sport. No sport at all, really. I was into music and, yeah. But someday I walked into the boxing gym. It's a bad. I just fell in love with it from day one.
What sort of music were you into back in the day then?
I like to do everything, really, from ska to rock. But rock music is my main music, from Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Motorhead. I like it all.
All the legends. All the legends. Yeah. So there you are, you're 15, you've gone in the gym for the first time. like you say, you fall in love with it. What sort of boxers were on top in the world at that time?
It's like, my heroes was like Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray's, Julio Cesar Chavez, and obviously the greatest Ali. Well, he's at the end of his career then, but I just look back at his old, his older fights, and I go without doubt he was the greatest man inside and outside boxing ring.
Yeah, there's some real legendary boxers there for you to, to aspire to be when you a young kid looking to, get into boxing. There's some names to aspire to. So you started 15. How long was it from there where you started to take fights at like an amateur level?
I was basically within the first 6 months. I had my first fight. I think I fought the Welsh champion in my first fight.
Whoa!
Yeah, well, there wasn't too many boys around with my weight. I was like 15 and weighing 6.5 stone, so there weren't many boys around my weight.
So, were you a natural? Like when you first started, were you just naturally good at it, or did you have to really work at it in those early days to get to to a level where you could turn pro and stuff like that?
It was a natural lot, you still got to work at everything. Even I just lived in a gym and it just everything I done just come naturally. And Guy Gardner was obviously my trainer from amateur to professional. He showed a big interest in me from the first couple of times I walked in the gym. He spent a lot of time with me, so I think he knew that I had what he was looking for.
Yeah. So, like, obviously these days, professional fighters, they've got nutritionists and these big teams with various different things to help them, make weight and things like that. Did you have that sort of thing back in your day, helping you, to get on weight and stuff, or was it literally kind of you and Di Gardner and a couple of others, and that's it?
Well, in the early days, in the early fights, you'd work out the diet and all that. You start nutrition come in, halfway through my career, and I did use them. And I think it did help me to make the weight I needed to be.
Yeah, So how old were you when you turned pro?
21.
21. So you had from 15 to 21 having amateur fights. How many do you know how many amateur fights you had in that time altogether?
Any probably not even 30 fights, but most of my fights, because it wasn't boys my weight, were not usually internationals, or the first time I boxed for Wales, that was in the Commonwealth Games when I was 17. That's the first time I fought for Wales, was in the Games.
Do you remember the first time you got invited to box for Wales? Like the feeling and how that felt to represent your country?
Yeah, it was quite amazing. Well, I actually wasn't picked for the Commonwealth Games, and I was sort of like a reserve, so I wasn't picked, so I was in first call on all day, so I didn't get picked for the Games. And then all of a sudden, I had the chance to go, and there was 2 guys from the Welsh ABA come down and got me. I'd been drinking for most of the week because I was on holiday. I didn't think I was going to the Games. And then he come and got me. And it's like, country is huge, when you're that age, it's not much about you, and then to go and represent the country, it's when you dream as a fighter.
So where was the Commonwealth Games then?
I won't say unfortunately, but I didn't have far to travel. It was in Edinburgh.
Oh, right, okay.
In 86.
Okay, so 1986, you're 17, fighting for Wales in the Commonwealth Games. That's it's where every person wants to be in their competitive sport, is representing their country. How did the Commonwealth Games go?
Good, I loved it. Well, when I got to the games, I thought if I didn't draw some of the favourites for the title, and I could get myself a bit fitter, because I said I'd been going on thinking a bit.
Mhm.
If I didn't draw one of the favourites and medals, I thought I had a chance to medal myself. But the first guy I drew was Mark Hepton, and he was favourite for the gold, and he was three-time British ABA senior champion. This was
Oh,
like a boy fighting a man. It was, the England amateurs
yeah.
back then. Didn't have to turn professional. He was well looked after, and he was like you said, it was like a man fighting a boy. But it was a good experience for me, and it helped me in future fights.
Must have helped you like prepare for the for future fights going on. That experience.
Every fight, especially at that level in boxing, boys with that experience is good experience for yourself.
Yeah, I find like my boys played like academy football on and off like over the last couple of years, and when the younger one who's 11, when he plays against older kids, I do find that when he goes back down to his age group the following week, that it makes a big difference because he's been playing against bigger, stronger, more experienced lads, more mature lads who approach the game differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I was like a boy fighting a man. You know, if if I could put 5 years on my life and box, them sort of fighters, then it'd have been a different story.
Yeah, absolutely. So you came out of the Commonwealth Games. What was next for Robbie Regan?
When I was mainly internationals, boxing against Scotland and out in Ireland, and then I did start in, you know, getting some big wins. I want to go medal in the multinational competition out in Norway. I won a silver medal out in Stockholm in Sweden. So
Yeah.
I was doing some big things.
So so you were 21. So you were still fighting amateur at this point. Um, was in the build up to the Commonwealth Games and afterwards, is your aim by this point is to be a professional boxer no matter what?
Yeah, that's
Like there was no other options.
no. But like the guys, gym was a professional gym, and I guess I always sparred with professionals. I was professional style. That's why they really don't have to as an amateur, really. Training with pros because they obviously box longer fights, so they pace themselves better. But you know, a 3 round amateur fight is over pretty quick. So you got to use a lot of speed, and which is different
Yeah.
program. I go pro style, and I know program would suit me better, and I'd be a better professional amateur.
Yeah. So age 21, you turned pro. Do you know how many fights you lost and won? Like, do you know what your amateur record was?
Um, it was probably probably won about 21 fights and probably lost 8, and most of them was early in my career.
It's impressive, isn't it? When you think, like you said, like the Commonwealth Games, you fought the guy who was really experienced compared to you, and you know, you were still a young boy, really, at that point. Um,
A
so
lot of
you've
amateurs,
turned.
a lot of
Say again,
amateurs,
sorry, mate.
I mean, like 200 fights before they turn pro.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So,
a lot of experience, really.
I mean, so yeah, when you compare it, like you say, usually amateurs will have that many fights, and you only had 30 odd. It's not the same, is it? It's not the same amount at all. So age 21, you've turned pro. Were you nervous at all, like when you first turned pro, or did you just feel like this is the natural progression and I'm gonna go all the way, sort of thing?
Natural progression, but before any fight, you're nervous. You're not not nervous because of your opponent. You're nervous because you want to win. And the
Yeah,
adrenaline. There's a lot of pressure on it.
yeah. I suppose it's like a nervous excitement, isn't it? You kind of itching to get going. Um, how did you used to deal with those, like the pre-fight nerves? Do you have any special like rituals or anything you used to do in particular?
No, I always had, faith in what I could do with my own ability. I didn't need any good luck charms or anything like that.
No, no superstitions, nothing like that. You see some of
No.
this. Yeah, you see some fighters, they got to like kiss both gloves and they got to do this and they got to stretch in a certain way. But no, back your ability. So did you used to like use music when you were training or when you were like in the build up to a fight?
Yeah, I was always trained to music in the gym. Get you go in and, yeah, it's always, I think it's great to train in music.
Yeah, yeah. Any was there like a particular song which you like to listen to before you'd fight?
No, I just listen to usual stuff that I've always been into, and it always gets me going. So it was exciting. You listen to the bands and your favourite songs in the change room before you go out to fight, and you could hear the crowd roaring before you go out. It's a buzz, you can only have by walking into the ring.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So I'd imagine it's like a kind of you can't match that feeling. Do you know what I mean? Like it can't be replicated. You can try and imagine it. Like I can try and imagine it. I've never done it or never had it, but I really I don't know. I don't understand it. So I'm always go on.
No, such an eye, and I remember fighting on the Nigel Benn undercard up in London, and all my fans were above the dressing room. You could hear them above the dressing room in the seats, and he was all screaming my name. I was in the same dressing room as Nigel, and he was going out before me, and he was screaming. He turned around and said to me, he said, "Robbie, I ain't going out yet. They all wanted to all screaming for you."
I like it. I love it. In fact, so do you remember much about your first professional fight?
Yeah, well, I don't remember too much about it. I remember I knew I'd won the fight, and the referee gave a draw, and I went up to the referee and asked him what kind of decision is that, and the referee turned around and said to me, "Well, you always box him again." To me that is not an answer. He
No.
thought I'd won the fight, and I knew I won the fight.
Yeah,
I won the fight.
Yeah, that must have been frustrating. I've got like a list of your fights up on. I'm always a bit reluctant because it's Wikipedia, so you never know if it's completely correct. So it's got your first fight down as a draw versus Eric George, in 19th of August 1989 in Splot Market, Cardiff. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Actually, Lennox Lewis today, because I got friends with Lennox in the Commonwealth Games, and he was doing promotion down here because he joined Sky, he became professional, and he come to watch me box.
Wow, that's unbelievable. When two fantastic boxers there, two legends. So that was August '89. You then fought next in the March of 1990. This time you went across the Severn Bridge and fought in York Hall, which is obviously a historic boxing venue. And you picked up a win against Francis Ampofo. So, I'm not going to take you through every single fight, but looking at your fights and your results, it seems like you got a lot of momentum quite quickly, and you ended up fighting Francis three times. Is it?
Times boxing, yeah.
So the first fight you fought him in 6th of March 1990 in York Hall, which you won, and then you.
Francis from Bethnal Green, so I could beat him in his hometown.
Yeah, well, York Hall and Bethnal Green is so historic for boxing and for everything. Obviously, Bethnal Green's very famous for the craze and and everything like that, as well as boxing. But I mean, as a purely boxing venue, that's a very special venue. So that must have been in itself, like a beautiful place to box in, just your second professional fight.
Yeah, it's one of the most famous boxing venues in the world, I think. And if you're going to box in England, it's in York all you want to box. And you imagine what the place is going to be like when going up there, and it's not quite the place I thought it'd be. It's not modern. It's very old school, to put it politely. I had to walk around the swimming pool to get into the arena to box. My dressing down.
Did you?
I had to walk around the pool.
Did you have to? Oh, did you take many Welsh fans up with you that first time you fought outside of Wales?
Not really. Not many. You gotta start to make a name for yourself and to get the people to follow you and start knowing your name. And obviously, people following you there.
Yeah, so you beat Francis in the March. Then, I was going to say, literally a month later, you fought again, which wouldn't happen these days. You fought in Merthyr and you beat Kevin Downer by TKO. And then you had another draw against Dave McAnally. Then you had another win and another draw against Michele. I can't pronounce his surname. Poggi, maybe. I apologize to him. But so you had three. So you had in your first 6 fights, you had 3 wins and 3 draws, which is quite unusual, isn't it, to have that many draws?
It is very unusual. Remember boxing Dave McNally and the commentators who was commentating for Matchroom, and I was fighting a Matchroom boy. Right through the fight, he said, they won the fight. And when the referee given a draw at the end, he said, good decision, because we were both unbeaten. But I was boxing a Matchroom boy, and they were Matchroom commentators. They said, I won the fight. And the third draw was out in the two. So to get a draw out there, you got to more than be done. And to get a draw. But I remember I dropped Poggi in the first round, and the promoter, he wanted to give up. He walked back to the corner, and the promoter of the show got up by the ring and pushed him back out. He said,
Never.
Giving up. You said, funny.
That's mad, that, isn't it? But like,
Terrible.
Yeah, I mean, especially back in, that was 1990, in the December of 1990, back in them days, even more so, I think, than now. When you go to another country and fight like the home country hero, you've got to, like you say, you got to win and more to get that decision if it goes to points.
Got to kill him to get a draw. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Poggi was the only fighter that I drew with that I actually would give me I had a return fight with, and I beat him easier and when I drew with him, and I did in a rematch, even though I won the rematch.
Yeah, it's strange how that is. It's one of my bugbears, unfortunately, for MMA and boxing is the judging. I do wish that they would be more consistent and just generally better. Sometimes you just get these weird and dreadful decisions, and it spoils it. It does spoil it.
You've seen some of these crazy decisions, and the difference between some judges' scorecards. I mean, some of these judges should never be judging fights. And after judging some fights, the scorecards they give, they should never. These are license taken off them. Should never judge again.
Well, I never understand why they don't have more ex-fighters and trainers doing the judging. I've never understood it. Why they don't go down that route, because these are the people who are not only the lifeblood of the sport, but they're also the most knowledgeable. So they naturally would be the best for judging it.
Absolutely. I mean, some of these judges have never boxed or hardly Well, I didn't know anything about the game until they started judging.
Yes, it's disappointing. So after the Prodigy fight, you beat Kevin Jenkins in February '91, Joe Kelly in May '91. Then you had a rematch with Francis Mpofu, this time in the National Sports Centre in Cardiff, which was for the. Oh, sorry, I do apologise. When you beat Joe Kelly in the 28th of May 1991, you won the vacant British flyweight title. And just when you fought Kevin Jenkins in the February, you won the vacant Welsh area flyweight title. So in the February and the May of '91, you picked up your first professional gold, in first titles. Was that must have been a huge moment for you personally?
Yeah, when the Welsh flyweight title, to be champion in your own country, it's a very proud moment. I mean, that fight was voted undercard fight of the year from Sky. Out of all the undercard fights of every show, that was voted the best fight of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite.
And then you beat Joe Kelly on points at the National Sports Centre in Cardiff again to win the British flyweight title. So back to back, you won the Welsh title and then you won the British flyweight title, both in Cardiff as well. So obviously you did it in your home country. You must have felt on a real high at that point to win back to back titles.
Yeah, like I said, very, very honoured to win to be our champion in his own country and then to win the British title and just made right. Beating Joe Kelly was favourite actually in the boxing. It made him quite a big favourite.
Yeah, and then of course you had, like I mentioned just now, you had the rematch with Francis Mpofu, which he won via TKO. That was also in Cardiff, which was for the British flyweight title, which you lost that to Francis there in the September of '91. Was that difficult because that was your first professional loss? Obviously, it was in your home country and you lost the British title. Was that difficult to deal with?
I don't count that as a loss because I was like 8 rounds up. That was the 11th round, and and it was they said head clashes, but I felt that Francis head butted me 3, 4, 5 times in the 11th round.
Yeah.
And, to wake up without the long stitches in your life, is an hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I can imagine because you must have felt like you weren't beaten by the better man then on that night. If you were up on points and by 8 rounds is a lot, and then obviously to lose it via a TKO, which not from a punch but from headbutts, that must have been quite difficult to deal with.
Yeah, but I blame the referee for that, Mickey Van. He should have disqualified Francis. I mean, the crowd went crazy down there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Plastic glasses coming in the ring. But Barry calmed it down because he's the front of the show. And to calm the crowd down, he told him that they will have an immediate rematch. He was good to his word.
Yeah, I was going to say, some of your fights, your early fights, were really quite close together. In this day and age, fighters tend to fight maybe once or twice a year. Even with that one, you lost the British flyweight title on the 3rd of September, but you fought again in the December 12th of December, in the National Ice Rink of Cardiff. So I'm assuming that was a bigger venue for the rematch, because I'm assuming it was quite a hyped up rematch then.
Yeah, well, I think Barry, who was also Francis' manager as well as his promoter, he decides when the fight goes ahead and where. So we decided in December, which was quite early because I had to, I wanted my eye to be fully recovered and healed. But I think it was maybe a little bit that they were opening my eyes, open back up, but
Yeah.
they monsters done such a good job on my eye and never had trouble with it again. That's the only cut I ever suffered.
Yeah, and you beat him. You beat him over 12 rounds on points to regain the British Flyweight title, which must have been. You must have felt really vindicated with that because, like you say, it was a bitter pill to swallow the way you lost it. So to come back a couple of months later and maybe they were, not. I don't want to say they weren't giving you enough time to recover, but they were at least hoping that your eye was going to be an issue. So for you to outbox him over 12 rounds must have been extremely satisfying for you, mate.
Very satisfying. It was one of my sweetest victories, to get a long belt back and put on such a display as I did. Which John Coyle, the referee, who refereed thousands of world title fights, European and British title fights, he said to me, "I was in the top 3 boxing exhibitions I ever refereed of all time." So that that was quite an accolade and a great honour for John to say that to me.
Yeah, that must have been that is some accolade, isn't it? Because he would have refereed, over his career, he'd have refereed thousands, probably, of fights, and some very big ones as well.
Coming from a star referee, and John, like I said, John Coyle refereed so many huge names in boxing. For him to comment that, it's an hell of an accolade, and very privileged to be told that.
Indeed. So you defended. No, I tell a lie. You fought Juan Batista Blanco, and you knocked him out within 2 rounds. According to Wikipedia, that was your first professional knockout, and obviously it was within 2 rounds. Were you very confident going into that fight after the exhibition that you'd put on in the previous fight?
Yeah. I felt I was on an eye after. I'd like to defend the title again, but with an opponent I was due to fight, I think he pulled out. So he brought in an 80 placement, so he wasn't for the title. And he brought in a Mexican, and it was a long way to travel for 1 round, and I knocked him out in the first round.
So then the next fight is interesting to me because it's a name which I'm sure people will be familiar with, which was you beat James Drummond in the 9th round by a TKO at the ice rink in Cardiff again to retain the British Flyweight title. Obviously, James Drummond, people will be familiar with the name as a boxer. Do you remember much about that one?
Just come the fight before he fought the European title against Salvatore Fani out in Italy, and he robbed the European title. So he come back and he fought me for the British title. It was this, and he come down and he didn't come to lose, he come to win. And I put on a masterclass of boxing and body punching, and hit him around the body for the night before he folded.
Yeah, I mean, you were notorious for your for your body punching and your natural technical ability, and this is one of those fights where, well, that the two Francis fights, you seem as if you were really coming into your own and showing the world what you were capable of, both technically, but obviously you had TKO'd Francis and you'd KO'd the Mexican lad, you TKO'd James Drummond, so you also just showing that you had the power to end fights as well as outbox people for 12 rounds.
Yeah, definitely. I'm James was a tall flyweight. He was 5'10", very tall and strong flyweight. So it was a big win for me. And in that fight, I also won the long belt outright. So that was another thing come.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you were just at this point, collecting wins, collecting titles, and building a really big reputation for yourself. Like you said, James Drummond had been robbed by Salvatore Fani for the European title out in Italy, which was your next fight where you fought again in Cardiff, and you beat him by unanimous decision within over 12 rounds to win the European title. So it's another title for you. Was that satisfying, knowing that James Drummond had been effectively, screwed over?
Yeah, well, styles make fights. They're both different style fighters. Even though I think I haven't seen the fight, but that's what I heard, that James won the fight. But Salvatore was also a good champion. He had a lot of defenses, and he stopped a lot of boys, knocked out a lot of boys. So, he was a proven champion, and it was a great fight with me and him when he came over. But I won the fight. But it was to take it off a good champion. It was that extra buzz.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, you'll have to excuse me because obviously this was a little bit before my time, so I'm not as familiar with some of the fighters. But I know Salvatore Fani was notorious for his defense and the way he boxed, which obviously would have made it. You had to be on tip-top form to beat someone like that.
Very experienced boy, very experienced champion. He know every trick in the book. And he's very difficult to beat. But, like I said, I handled him to be comfortable, and I won the unanimous decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, you were the British champion, European champion. Next, you would be going up to London again to fight Adrian Okocha, who you beat on points over 10 rounds. And then you would have your rematch with Michele Poggi, which again you won over points and in the National Ice Rink. How did you feel that the rematch went with Poggi?
Oh, well, one fight. The referee didn't have to pick any more rounds up. At the end of the fight, Michele picked me up. He knew he'd been well beaten. But like I said, I felt like I became Adrian in the first fight, where they give a draw.
Yeah.
And and before you mentioned Adrian Ochoa, that was a 10-round domination by the card, which is what he won much my world title fight. And Adrian Ochoa was actually an Argentinian champion who just beaten the number one in the world. So he was a tough, good man, and there's a big win on my record at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, to beat these caliber of boxers, there were no slouches who you were fighting, and you were you're outboxing them, or it seems like you were either outboxing them over 10 or 12 rounds, or you were stopping them, in 2 or 3.
Well, yeah, styles make fights. You box a fighter and a fighter boxer.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you it's 1994 at this point, or 93, 94. Obviously, your reputation is as big as it's been at this point. You've got a reputation as one of the best, technical boxers in the world, I would imagine, or certainly in Europe, being the European champion. Did you have, at this point, after the Ochoa fight and the Prodigy fight, were you, eyeing up those world titles already before you even got there?
I was lined up to fight 5 world champions, and none of them fights materialised. I think a fight that you missed out was against Danny Porter. I beat my European title against him, and Porter was well high up in the rankings, and I destroyed him in 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I expect that to be a tough fight for you, because he's a good fighter, Danny Porter, and to blow him away in 3 rounds. And like I said, I had 5 world title fights lined up, and all these champions pulled out or made some excuse not to fight me. But I think that's after they watched the Danny Porter fight, to be honest with you, or knew about the Danny Porter fight.
Yeah, well, just because of the way you dominated him and put him away in 3 rounds.
Yeah, it just blew him away. I think everybody was shocked the way how comfortable he beat him.
So, as a young man he's built this awesome reputation as a exceptional boxer, but then when you've had 5 fights kind of fall through for the world title, have you ever thought at any point, this is just not going to happen for me? I'm just not destined to be the world champion. Not big for any reason to do with your ability, just that maybe it's just not to be because the world champions don't want to fight you.
Well, like I said, to have 4-5 world champions put out, it is heartbreaking, but, I got myself in one of the governing bodies, the #1 contender, so I knew I would have my shot, and one day my shot will come. They've got to defend once a year against a Mandy challenger, so I knew my time was coming.
Yeah, I was just looking now. So from the Francis Mpofo rematch in December of 91, where you won on points and won your British title back, you then went unbeaten all the way until June 95, which is quite exceptional when you think that, trying to think how many fights. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 fights unbeaten is some achievement in itself.
Yeah, when the class of boys I boxed, none of them were bums, they were all good fighters or champions.
Was that by choice, or was it just the boxing? Like, well, I don't mean by choice, but I mean, was the standard of boxing just very, very good, or did you prefer to go against proper fighters who would give you a challenge?
I never wanted to fight anybody who I would get criticised for. All had to have proved themselves before I'd want to fight them. I wanted to be a good caliber fighter.
Yeah. So you beat Poggi on points January 94. Then you've gone on to face Marcio Bernal, who you also beat on points over 8 rounds. And then you fought Sean Newman in Cardiff in October 94. And it was another quick TKO.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with that fight because, to be honest, that's one of the fighters, like I said, I don't want any easy touches. I don't think Sean Newman should be in the ring with me. The boxing board control refused this guy then who's Italian champion, he said he wasn't good enough. And for them then to sanction a fight against Sean Newman, I didn't agree with that. He should never have been in the ring with me. But that was down to the promoter,
Yeah. That must give its own set of issues or motivations or whatever. If you feel like your opponent's not up to your standard, you've still, in any fight, boxing, MMA, whatever it may be, everyone's got a puncher's chance, haven't they? So if you're fighting someone who even though you don't feel that he's up to your level in terms of ability, you've got to make sure that you're mentally prepared and focused to make sure he doesn't catch you with that kind of 1 in a million shot.
Absolutely, no matter who I'm fighting or what his record like, I'll train as hard for everyone. I train hard for all whoever they was.
Yeah, so that was in the October, and then literally a month later, you fought Luigi Campotararo, with who you beat on a split decision over 12 rounds to retain your European Flyweight title. I'm just looking now. I can't see any other split decision in your whole career as a pro.
Yeah. Luigi was a European champion. He was ranked in the top 10. Very good fight that. But what I done was the biggest mistake I ever made in my life. I wore brand new boots in that fight, and it was
Right.
3rd-degree burns on my. I
Oh,
got treated for 30 burns. I
oh,
went 3 steps, weight threes, and my feet down throwing punches is the most hardest, cruelest thing I've ever gone through in my career.
how on earth do you get 3rd-degree burns?
It's just crazy. I also wore these they call them marathon socks inside the boot. But you know, even ITV come up, they filmed my feet the day after the fight. That's how bad they was.
Ugh,
I mean, I drove down the arena. I couldn't drive home because of my feet.
that's madness.
How badly yesterday it was surgery burns. It's just unreal.
Crazy that is. That must have been agony trying to fight with that. Um, and then the following June 95, you fought for the WBO Flyweight title against Alberto Jimenez, which unfortunately was where your undefeated streak came to an end. Do you remember much about that fight?
Yeah, I remember everything about that fight. The build up for that fight, the way I was treated, everything went wrong for me, and even my worst enemy couldn't criticize me for losing that fight. If people knew what happened and what I'd actually gone through and how I was treated, you know, I won't go into details about that now, but all that will be in my book, and that is quite some read, that is, and you know, very interesting. Some fighters get treated when you think the promoters and everybody looking after them and how they're actually badly treated.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that in boxing and fighting, if your preparation is not, especially for a world title fight, if your preparation's not right when you're fighting at that level, it's very difficult to to put on a performance and to perform at your highest ability.
And it's just unbelievable what actually happened to me before our fight. You know, Alberto was a great champion with a lot of knockouts and an exception. But he didn't box Robbie Regan and like he boxed his shadow.
So that was the June of '95. Then in the December of '95, you won the IBF Interim Flyweight title by beating Farid Ben Jeddah via KO in the second round. So I'm assuming you were back to your best, by the December.
Ben Jeddah was unbeaten with a long knockout. It's the IBF Interim Flyweight title. You never know. You never know what a fighter is. Because no one he gets beat, but now he comes back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Defeat against him has even made me more hungry because, like I said, he didn't box Robbie Regan, he fought Shadow. So if I had a lot to prove, and you know, my last 2 fights, I think was my best performances, to be honest.
Absolutely, mate. I mean, you won the interim flyweight title versus Farid, and then literally 5 months later in '96, you beat Daniel Jimenez via unanimous decision over 12 rounds for the WBO World Bantamweight title. So you've won. I know some people will say it's the interim title, but you've won back-to-back world titles. That's the literal epitome of everything you've trained for in all those years. Tell me what that's like when you finally did it.
Well, when I beat him, first when I beat him, then I 2 weight world champion, and I went up 2 weights to fight Jimenez. And you know, Jimenez had been over here. He defended the title against good champion. he took it off with the quality champion, Alfred Corty, the Garland, and he beat him over here. He beat a good fighter, good British champion from Scotland, Drew Doherty, in a good fight. Drew gave him a close fight. And he actually took the super bantamweight title off Duke McKenzie. So he was a two-weight world champion. And he also, well, he lost the super bantamweight title to Marco Antonio, the great Marco Antonio Barrera. And Barrera, he had a chin of steel, and Barrera couldn't drop him. But I dropped him in there in the 8th round. I think it was like a 14-second count.
So
that's some I don't think that Barrera didn't do.
So there you are. You've you've been on this 11-fight unbeaten streak. Then you've had some issues in the build-up to your first world title fight for the flyweight title, and you lost. Then you've won the interim flyweight title with one of your best performances ever. Then you've gone again and gone up a couple of weights to win the bantamweight title. You're a two-weight champion. You're on top of the world. You're doing your best boxing of your career. Talk to me about what happened next.
Well, after our fight, I went back training now to make my first defense, and I came down with glandular fever. So I was out for credit to WBO, they were very fair with me, let me keep the title. But I had to recover from glandular fever, and then when I got over it and started back training again, I had my first defense lined up against Drew Doherty, and I trained a routine brain scan, and that was just something I never expected, and it's your world shattered, your world falls apart.
Yeah, that must have been horrific, because it's not just the fact that they discovered something on the brain scan, but it's the fact that you've had this break, you've had glandular fever, which is hard enough in itself, and then you've got your comeback fight lined up, you're ready, you're training, you're prepared, and then to suddenly have the carpet whipped from underneath you, really, with no warning. That must have been so difficult to deal with.
It was nightmare, you trained all your life to get where you are, and now you've just got the money, you don't start making proper money until you're champion, and to get to where you want to be, and then to have it just taken away from you, it's beyond words. I couldn't even put it into words how difficult and how hard it was for me.
So after the brain scan, did you have to retire straight away, or was there like a kind of period where you didn't know what was going to happen and what was going on?
For a second opinion, that day I go up to Harley Street in London. It was the same result on my brain, which will never affect me. But obviously they wouldn't give me a license. It'll never affect my day-to-day life. But obviously the Board of Control couldn't give me a license, because if anything did happen in the ring, they'd be liable.
Yeah, of course. It's a difficult one, I'm sure, for you, because, like you say, it won't affect you today, but from their point of view, they've got to, rightly got to protect their fighters, and they want to do everything they possibly can to ensure the fighters don't have any, complications or anything, because they're getting punched in the body, in the head. 1998, you had to announce your retirement from boxing. You finished with a record of 17-2-3, which is a very, very impressive record, and there's a reason why you're a legend of the boxing world, and Welsh boxing in particular. But do you remember the day, like, that you announced your retirement?
Yeah, me and Joe we shaved the top of the bill at an event at a promotion in Cardiff. We both was we defended world titles, and so now my retirement on that day in front of my own crowd was heartbreaking. Actually, what I wanted to say I couldn't get it out what I wanted to say, and I didn't tell him how much he needed me. And I'm sorry, it was I wouldn't be defending my title.
So, where did Robbie Regan go from there? From retiring in boxing, what was next for you?
I just didn't know. A lot of people have close to me, around me. A lot of people disappear then. I just went into myself, and I suffered with severe depression. My family, I was married then, and my family, they suffered because I had to drink. And I was drinking to hide the pain and really, you're not hiding nothing really, you're just waking up with a hangover, and your life is still what it is. It's worse
Yeah.
than a hangover.
Yeah, you just kind of feel worse, I suppose, with the hangover.
Well, you're drinking to numb the pain, but drink becomes an addiction. You're going out with your friends drinking. You think you're not addicted, but your body craves it, and you keep drinking more and more. And I just hit the ball and got very depressed. And my marriage broke down over it. I lost over it. And that's even the worst feeling. And finishing boxing, losing the shoulder. So why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure. I'm sure it was because that's like the worst thing that can happen to to any person, any parent.
Well, I needed help. Not physical help. I needed mental help. I needed I don't know counselling or whatever it took. But there was nothing there. There was nothing there to help you. I didn't think there was anything there to help me.
I think back then it was different to what it is now, isn't it? I mean, there was help there in those days, but it wasn't as prominent as what it is now.
I would I wouldn't have known how to ask for help. I wouldn't
Yeah.
think of I need a doctor. You wouldn't think of that back in them days.
So how did you eventually get through that period? Did you have to really hit rock bottom to kind of?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have great rock bottom, to start climbing back up. My life wasn't best. I was trying to not drink as much as I was. I was still drinking, but not like to the extent that I was. I met a girl, Rachel, who I'm engaged to now. She helped me a lot, and we got two young kids. So that helped me big time in my life.
Yeah, I think I'll just take this quick opportunity to say as well, if anyone is affected by the mental health issues with addiction, I've done shows discussing my own problems with alcohol, and I've done shows on addiction and mental health issues. If you are suffering, there's always people who will help you. There's charities, there's GPs. I'll put links in all in the descriptions as I usually do when these subjects come up. And I think I speak for everyone, Robbie, when I say that it's nice to see you look healthy. Obviously, where I was kind of researching the show and just looking into stuff, and I came across a Wales Online article from a while back, and you didn't look that healthy there, but now you look healthy, and like when I was speaking to you could tell like you're in a better place.
Absolutely, and I thank you for that. I get lots of comments saying how well I look now, which is nice to know. And you know, it gives you that kick up the arse as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you before we get into the kind of the people's questions, as it were, the one thing I wanted to ask you is professional sportsmen, particularly fighters, but all professional sportsmen, not all, a lot of professional sportsmen, particularly boxers, when they retire, maybe more so when it's enforced, but sometimes when they just retire, through natural age and whatever, some do have issues with alcohol or gambling or drugs or whatever it may be. And I wanted to get your take on perhaps why you think that is. Why do fighters or sportsmen, professional athletes struggle when they have to retire to adapt to day-to-day life?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it happens more in boxing than any other sport. But I can't speak for so much other sportsmen in different sports, but for boxers, a lot of boxers don't retire with the kind of money that they should, and that's just one issue. And there's also, they got injuries that they don't know about, head injuries that they may not know about, and they live to drink for lots of other reasons, which is it's not going to help. Not going to help your condition. And there's a thing now with finally in boxing now. There's a charge called ringside wrestling care set up by ex-fighters, Dave Alex and ex-fighters, who are helping and looking after injured fighters or boxers falling on hard times, and they're doing a fantastic job. And they're trying to raise money now, hopefully to get something like a 36-bedroom building built where they can help these fighters, and they can find ways to job.
That's fantastic, and I go on, you carry on.
I'm putting on an event from now on March 29th, where all the champion fighters are coming along, the likes of former world champion Lee Selby, Liam Williams, who's fighting for the middleweight title, Barry Jones, former world champion, and Sky Pundit, Steve Robinson, myself, Enzo McAnally, Rory Turley, former Commonwealth champion, Gavin Gwynn, who's fighting for the British title, and Cody Day, one of the brightest prospects. Gavin Reese, former world champion, he's all coming along to the Valley Tavern on the 29th. It's a sit-down meal and question, answer, and auction, and entertainment after to raise money, ringside wrestling care. So anybody wanting tickets, get in touch with me via Facebook.
Yeah, I'll put the flyer which you sent me earlier. I'll put that in the description, and I'll also link your Facebook pages and stuff, so people can click the links. And
big thank you to Sam Jenkins and Melanie, who own the Valley Tavern and the Valley Tavern team. Who without them, we wouldn't be able to put the show on.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a fantastic charity and cause, and I think that sort of help for fighters, particularly, I think is long overdue, and it's fantastic now that they, if hopefully, touch wood, everything comes off and everything goes well, that they'll have the facilities to help those fighters, when they retire, or when even if they're not retired and they find fighters who come across hard times for whatever reason, whether it's mental health or addiction, whatever it may be, if they've got somewhere which can help them, that's what we want. Okay, right then, let's finish off with the questions which people sent in, and then I can leave you to go to bed. Just before I do, I just wanted to say a little quick word from our sponsor. This show is brought to you by Away Day Apparel. Visit awaydayapparel.co.uk for the latest clothes and offers with some of the big things planned for 2020. It's definitely worth following them on Twitter at Away Day Apparel and Insta at @awayday_apparel as they look to revitalize the casual scene. And especially for Ace Podcast Nation viewers and listeners, if you use the code AA Podcast Nation, you'll get 10% off all orders. That's AA Podcast Nation, all in lowercase. Okay. So first question, which was from Ian Llewellyn from Bournemouth. He says, I represented Robbie Regan for his 2016 20th anniversary from when he won his world title in Monaco and Cardiff. And the question is, can you ask Robbie, is it true he's the only Welsh boxing world champion that has never felt the canvas in his professional career?
Yeah, I think, but I know, as far as I know, when every time I know, I'm supposed to have been dropped. So West Coast champion, not canvas. But you know, as well as that's a great accolade, we showed some of the great champions we got to actually get off the canvas and win the fight. So that takes some doing as well.
Absolutely. Alan Jones, who our mutual friend who put us in touch, he said that he had aspired to be as good as you when he was training, but you were a different level, and and your boxing knowledge is just simply incredible. So there's no question there. Just a compliment for you.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah, he's a good man. He's a good man. Brian Newman wants to know, who taught you to body punch so good?
From Brian Newman. From when I started, Brian was a hell of a talent, great fight from Merthyr, and he was coming on to spar. And he was never very brave to amateur body punching. Brian was such an exceptional body puncher, and he showed me how important body punching was. But then I watched some of my favourite fighters who I aspired to be, like Julio Cesar Chavez. Bethnal Green was a great body puncher. Like I said Chavez to me was the greatest body puncher in history, probably. And you know, you study them and try to copy what they do. But I suppose Brian was the one who started me off body punching. Thank you, Brian.
Do you know what? When I do the MMA and the combat sports shows with Danny Batten, we were talking recently about like just the importance of body shots. And like people perhaps who have never boxed or fought, they don't realize how much like the body shots, whether it's punches in boxing or kicks in MMA, how much it takes out of you. Like a really good body shot can really do damage as the fight goes on longer and longer.
Absolutely, you kill the body and the head dies.
I like that. I like that. That's a good one. See, Harry Rudge said, if you could have your career again, what would you do differently?
Differently. Certain titles I wouldn't have given up by my choice. Certain fights I wish I took. Yeah. There's a few things I would have done differently. But at the end of the day, I've had a lot more bigger regrets if I look back on my career and didn't win the world title.
And someone else asked, do you wish that you had gone to America?
Yeah, I had a chance to America. In Flyweight title. And when Dan Romero was injured at the time, he was the champion, come back, he was supposed to fight me for the world title. So I was interim champion, but Romero didn't box at our weight again. So I as interim champion, should have been made full champion. But he wanted me to box now for the vacant, where I should have been, made full champion. So I decided I wasn't going to fight for 50-50 first when I should be playing 60, when I should be playing 60-40. and I got offered the world title against him in Wales then. So that's the reason I didn't go to America. But looking back now, I do regret it in a way because that's, there's a lot of money to be made in America, and I know they would love my style and my way of fighting out there. I think it would have been a big hit in America.
Yeah, I agree with that. I got to say, I think they would have loved you. Paul Spud Hepsworth wants to know, did you find my flick knife under your bed in Italy?
I think we went to Italy when I was about 12, and I think, I might have finished the flick knife. I can't remember.
I like it. Smithy says, Robbie Regan never needed a weapon. His weapon was his fitness, his strength, and his power. Beast mode, the one and only world champ, Robbie Regan. So again, just compliments. And the reason I'm reading some of the compliments, and it's not all of them, it's just some of them, is because I wanted you to make sure, I wanted to make sure you saw them all or heard them all and realized just how much people think of you. The Ginger Ninja says, no questions, only a statement. You did us all proud, champ. Okay, so I've got a couple of others, and then I'll leave you go bed. What's your favorite boxing match that you've ever watched not involving you?
I got a couple, the box fights, it's got to be Pereira and Moran. Some of the old fights, Gomez against Lupe Pinta, who beat Johnny Owen. That was a great fight. I think now off the top of my head. Lupe Pinta against Wilfredo Gomez, I favorite fight.
Okay. Was there any Welsh boxers that you looked up to as a young man?
Who inspired me?
Yeah.
Julio Cesar Chavez was one of my big heroes. Marvin Hagler, Serena and but the greatest out for me is Scott greatest is Ali. Not just what he done in boxing, but outside the ring as well. To me, he's the greatest man who ever walked the earth.
Yeah, fair. I think that's a fair comment. Absolutely. Was there any Welsh boxers which you kind of like looked up to or admired?
Pardon?
Was there any Welsh boxers who you looked up to?
Boxers.
No, Welsh boxers that you looked up to.
Yeah. My two favorite Welsh boxers. I've got to be obviously Joe's a great fighter, but my favourite fighter is Howard Winston, the Welsh wizard, the legend Howard Winston. And to me, probably the greatest Welsh was Jimmy White, who was the guy that was my weight. And I think he went something like, first of all, 107 fights unbeaten. And he fought in New York, in the American Hall of Fame as the greatest flyweight of all time.
Wow.
In the world. So
that's unbelievable. What was your favourite fight that you took part in?
My favourite fight. Obviously winning the world title is your dream come true. You gaining the title from France and forward, that was sweet. Probably blowing Danny Porter away in 3 rounds because no one expected that. And I thought it was going to be a tough fight for me. Like I said, I was a 4-1 underdog in the book.
Wow.
Oof. It's a big odds in a 2-horse race.
It is, yeah. I hope you had a bet on yourself.
I never betted on myself. I'm so caught up and thought about fights. I just
Didn't
never
think of
thought
it.
about betting on myself. The promoters, everybody else won a lot of money on me. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
So caught up in the moment.
Nightmare. Okay, last couple. Where do you think you would rank in today's boxing?
Oh yeah. Flyweight and Bantamweight Title. I did in the weight class I concerned. There's no one
Good
no one
stuff.
in the weight that would worry me today. No, not in my weight.
I agree. I gotta say, I agree completely. And last question: who do you think will be the next Welsh superstar boxer?
And got a couple of who's holding on tight world title fights now. Ian Williams is fighting for the world title, and I think his last couple of performances, I've seen him improve a hell of a lot. I think he could be the next Welsh world champion. Joe Codine has a great prospect. I think he's capable of winning a world title. Welsh boxing is in a very place at the moment.
It is, yeah. Welsh combat sports overall is just phenomenal shape, and I do feel like we could have multiple world champions with a bit of luck in a couple of years in both MMA and boxing.
Yeah.
Okay, Robbie, I thank you for your time, my friend. I really appreciate you giving me so much of your time and so late as well. I will put links to your Facebook in the bottom of the description for the episode so that people can contact you about that charity night. And guys, if you can share this episode, subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. And just help us spread the word as we keep growing and we keep getting these fantastic guests giving us their time to tell their story and to take part in the episodes. I appreciate you all for downloading and viewing. I appreciate Robbie, and I appreciate everything which we've talked about and got. And we will see you for the next episode of My Story, and we'll see you for the next episode of Ace Podcast Nation. Don't forget, go on.
I just like to finish this film. I just want to thank all my fans then and now for the tremendous support they give me. They made my fight nights electric. Memories I'll cherish forever. And if it wasn't for I'm just glad and happy that I could return their faith in me and bring world titles to Wales. And piece of my world championship belongs to each and every one of them. And love and best wishes always.
I think that's a perfect way to finish, my friend.